The following program is underwritten by the Nevada Irrigation District. Since 1921, providing clean and healthy drinking and irrigation water to more than 24,000 homes, farms, schools, and businesses in Nevada and Placer counties.
Hi everyone, I'm Lou Sitzer, host of NCTV Interviews. Thanks for watching today, and we're going to learn a lot about water. We have Ron Nelson, General Manager of NID, with us today. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Lou. It's a pleasure to be here.
And it's great to see you again and to educate us all, really, as to our water sources, water resources, and something we hardly ever think about when it comes out of the tap.
Well, unfortunately, I think that happens all too often. We do take our water supplies for granted, and in this day and age, we really can't afford to be that way.
So, as I noticed in the intro, NID has been the generous underwriter for this program, and that has gone on a number of years. It has started in 1921, is that correct?
That's correct, Lou. Like most everything else in this part of California, NID is rich in the history of California. The original founders of the modern day canal system were the miners who came to this country in the 1850s in search of riches and gold, and then left behind the legacy that we picked up in 1921 when the voters in Nevada County first voted to tax themselves to form the Nevada Irrigation District. 5 years later, a number of the farmers and ranchers in Placer County did the same thing, voted to join the Nevada Irrigation District in 1926. And from that time forward, the district has existed as primarily an irrigation district, but has evolved over the years to supply some other needs in the community.
So the actual physical boundaries extend beyond Nevada County.
That's correct. And some people get confused by that, and it's understandable, but we actually are in 4 counties. We have a little bit of our facilities, our storage facilities in Sierra County. We have our primary service areas in Nevada, Western Nevada County, parts of Placer County, and we actually serve a little bit of Yuba County as well. Total of about 287,000 acres are in our service territory. It's one of the largest irrigation districts in California.
Do you have any idea as to how many reservoirs that might be?
Well, we have quite a few of them, but our partners up here in PG&E, Pacific Gas Electric, also have a few reservoirs. So we make very good use of those upper reservoirs to store our water supplies.
And that's sort of a shared enterprise with PG&E, because I know that you store water. PG&E generates electricity. How does that work in terms of partnerships and revenues?
It's been a great partnership over the years. Actually, some of our distribution system and some of our water supplies we actually acquired from PG&E years ago. As they divested themselves of their water supply enterprises and focused on their energy, they sold off some of those resources to NID. Beginning in the 60s, NID became interested in developing its own hydropower. So we started to form more partnerships, if you will, with PG&E in the storage, the transportation, the generation of electricity, and ultimately to us, the distribution of water for consumptive purposes.
So can you give us a dollar figure that encompasses the yearly amount, revenue, or budget that you deal with?
The district's budget is around $40 million a year. That includes our capital improvement budget, which over the next few years is going to start climbing rather dramatically. We have a number of capital improvement projects. Our operation budget runs around $25 million a year. The primary source of revenue for that is from the sales of water, the rates that we charge for the delivery of water, whether it's treated or raw water. We also have a tax base that we receive some tax monies. That's running around $10 million a year. That's not always that secure. The state in the past has come in and taken some of that money from us in the past and is threatening to do so again right now. So that remains to be seen if it's going to stay intact. And then the third primary source of revenue that we have is power revenues. Those are somewhat unpredictable. They depend on precip conditions, rain and snowfall. So it's a variable amount from year to year. But we rely on our rates for our basic services.
So one of the things you referred to is the sort of unpredictability of storage and rainfall. I noticed that our governor has declared a drought for
Yes.
California, which if we travel much throughout the state, there are a lot of communities that are very conscious of water usage, whereas in our own county, it doesn't seem to be an issue. So how do you work with that drought classification?
Well, I think it's true that the rest of the state is really struggling right now with short water supplies. I think it's also a fact, as you've observed, we don't feel that crisis at the moment. Part of the reason is that the district has planned for variability in precip over the years, and that's the reason we have the reservoirs that we have in the upper country. And we're very cautious about our use of water, whether it's a plentiful year or a short year. We're always mindful that those supplies can disappear over 18 or 24-month period. So we're very cautious about that. We're also lucky that we're so close to our supply. We don't have to buy it from anyone else. We manage the supply ourselves. We can take very good care of it. And I think we owe a lot of the credit for our stable supplies to our users. They're very good about how they use their water. They're conscious about how much they use, how they apply it, and when they apply it. So,
of course, those users pay for that water, so it's another reason to be conscious.
It's another very good reason, but I think they have just that ethic to be very conservative with their water supplies.
Yeah, I think we live in a rather thrifty area.
I think we do.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm concerned with is that as weather patterns change, and we seem to be experiencing a warmer climate with less snowpack in the winters. And I know that a lot of water agencies and forestry are doing studies and plans for the time ahead. Mm-hmm. Has NID looked at water usage in the future and sort of made plans?
Yeah, I think part of an ethic of most irrigation districts is that they're always conscious that a drought is just around the corner. So we're always very fearful that a couple of years can go by without proper rainfall or normal rainfall, and we'll be in trouble. So those of us that have been in the business for any length of time have this constant fear that's always nagging. So we always seem to be in some mode of planning for what our communities may need in the future, how we can improve on our infrastructure so that we're more conscious of conserving water. And we also look for ways of managing the upper storage system in a way that keeps the water as high up and as protected as possible. I think that we've always experienced variability of supply. Right. That's a constant.
That's true.
Is the variability of it. If there's this trend that we believe is taking place, that there is global warming, and it's going to affect the snow supplies, then we're looking at whether there's some feasible storage facilities or enhancements we can make to existing facilities so that we can offset those impacts. Nothing has come to light as yet, but we will be looking at that very analytically to see if there's some cost-effective storage.
That's great. You know, there's lots of innovations that are going to be happening because of these changes.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So we're going to have to, as a society, and certainly as a water resource managers, we're going to have to be adaptable. We're going to have to be able to adapt to changing conditions around us.
Right. And of course, we're seeing that throughout the nation.
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm constantly surprised by is how many directions NID travels, not just in water delivery, but how many sort of diversity of uses NID has. And I thought, you brought some wonderful pictures, so I thought we could take a look at those and talk about how, what NID provides for the county.
Be happy to. Hope I can recognize all the photos.
Okay.
This is one of the canals in the upper country. I think this is part of what's called the drum system. It's actually water that's moved by PG&E. But we have canals that are very similar in the upper country.
And this is actually looked like carved into the mountainside.
Right. I think this is our Bowman Reservoir. And that's full, which we always like to see. It's probably in the spring.
And how is it doing now?
It's down. It's showing the effects of a short winter and a long summer. Yeah. This is one of the high lakes. This might be French. One of the high lakes.
And we can still see the snowpack.
A little bit of snow around there. Yeah. We also like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. End of winter, beginning of spring.
Yep. Yeah.
Beautiful country to hike in.
We are really blessed. Those are high quality lakes. They're very pristine. There's no threats to the water quality up there, and we're very lucky. Let's see. We're looking at Canyon Creek, I believe. And this is part of the Bowman system, and it's probably
This
might be
is
in spring.
above the town of Washington.
Yes, that would be.
Beautiful areas to hike. Again, the kind of environment that so many of us really enjoy.
Right.
And
Yeah,
what
we're
makes
really
the area
blessed.
attractive.
Very, very lucky. This would be our Bowman House. This, you can see off in the background a little bit of the Bowman Reservoir, and this is where the caretakers would stay frequently throughout the winter to make sure that the reservoir is safe and the canal is operating appropriately. And
So you have NID personnel who are living there throughout the winter.
yeah, correct. And it was used by the construction crews when the dam was being constructed, so it's quite a nice location.
And it looks like a pretty big facility where you may have more than just a few people.
Yeah, it housed some contractors up there at one time. I think this is our lake, let's see, this is Lake Wildwood. I think this is our Lake Wildwood improvements.
LOP.
Lake of the Pines.
This
This is Lake of the Pines.
Right.
This is one of our newer upgrades. This was just done a few years ago to increase the capacity down there. It serves not just Lake of the Pines, but the surrounding area down there. We've got some expansion plans for just to the south and west of this plant. So.
And that area is experiencing a lot of growth,
Yes, yeah.
South County.
There's also some neighbors down there that would like water, so we're expanding our system into existing neighborhoods. So it's not just new neighborhoods that are coming in, it's existing. This is our Loma Rico Reservoir here. One of our employees going out.
And this isn't the Loma Rica we hear about, the Loma Rica Ranch.
No.
This is considerably larger.
Yeah, right.
Where is it located?
This is in the upper country. We divide our district into the lower distribution system and the upper storage system. So just kind of our way of identifying. This is a shot of Scotts Flat. As you mentioned, we have a lot of different activities that we get involved in by virtue of having reservoirs and canals and water resources. And Scotts Flat is one of the gems that's just right on our doorstep. And folks enjoy boating, fishing, water skiing, camping. And it's just right in our own backyards.
Yep, just a few miles out of town.
Pretty fortunate to have that. And you need to know this is where it ultimately ends up, out in the pastures and caring for livestock. And this is what we were originally designed to do, is to serve agriculture in our greater community here.
And of course, we still do have a lot of cattle and cattle ranches and orchards.
We do. We still have some good orchards. We have some vineyards. We have some folks who are getting fairly well known for their organic farming.
Right.
So we have some specialty farming going on, and so we still have a pretty robust farming community. And we're lucky to have that as well.
It's great to see that holding and actually growing.
Right. I think this is a shot of our No Motor Day that we had at Scotts Flat this spring. We invited folks to come in and kayak and fish and any kind of boating, any kind of water activity, but there were no motors on the lake that day. And that was a pretty big success.
Right, you appreciate the quiet.
It was pretty nice. This is our Combie dam spilling. Actually, it's Van Giesen Dam, I think it's also referred to. And this is down on the Bear River. Beautiful area. And it's part of our distribution system.
It looks like a spectacular waterfall.
It's
a nice place to visit.
That's the kind of year we like to see, water coming over the
Is there
tops.
public access to this?
There is a little bit of public access. A lot of the land around Combie itself is privately owned. But the district actually owns the real property in the dam itself. And here's one of our canals. I'm not sure if I can tell you exactly where that canal is.
I recognize it's Newtown.
Is that the Newtown?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And this is what some of our team does day in, day out in order to make sure that we can get reliable flows to our farmers. There is a tremendous amount of work keeping those 400 miles of canals and laterals open.
So is that ditch going to be, I know the ditch by our place has gotten cemented and it's actually soon going to be, we're soon going to have a treated water. So is there a plan to eventually phase in a cemented or enclosed water system?
You know, there's no master plan to do so, but there's an incentive for us to always look for ways of gaining efficiencies in the distribution system. Obviously, an open canal like we have here is subject to evaporation and seepage, and as water becomes more precious, we're going to have to be mindful of, you know, should we line some of these? Should we concrete line them? Should we put them in pipes? But simply the cost of doing so is enormous. So if we did it, it'd have to be very strategic.
Right. We'll talk about that a little later.
This is a great photo of one of our aging flumes. These are flumes that were probably put in maybe as long as 60 years ago. They're called Lennon flumes, but named after the person who invented that type of a joint for the sheet metal. And they're all on wood staves. They have a finite life. They're in timbered areas. What we're looking to do, and we have been doing over the last 10 or 15 years, is systematically replacing these with elevated pipes. Another shot of the same thing.
Right. Actually, when we built our house years ago, we used old flume wood.
Did you?
For our decking. We
Yeah.
were able to get it as it was being dismantled, and
Yeah.
it's heart redwood.
Yeah, it's real high quality material. Yeah, it's in demand still to this day. Here's a great shot of some folks that we rely on to make sure your treated water always meets the highest standards. These folks work tirelessly day and night to make sure the water is supplied to real high standards. So.
These are the services that we take for granted, like fire too, that really is so important to our existence.
It is, and these folks and others like them are out there day and night, in holidays and weekends, so they really deserve a lot of credit. Here's a great shot of one of the orchards that are developing here in the area, and I think this is part of a program, you might see another slide as well, where we're working with some of the orchardists and some of the vineyards to see how we can save some water. I'm not sure if I know what that shot is. That's another one of the high lakes.
Yeah, I think it's Grouse Ridge.
Might be Grouse Ridge area. Here's a great shot of an orchard in the springtime, obviously, and we're really anxious to make sure these guys are successful in their operations. I think they had some weather conditions this year that weren't that favorable, but what we're doing here is we're probing the soil moisture so that we can advise them as to how much moisture to apply and when to apply it, so they're real efficient with their water.
Right, I'm looking at that with our orchard moving to a drip system,
Yeah.
just because it's more efficient.
Can be very effective. Can be very effective. Yeah, we'd like to encourage you to do that. And, yeah. Another shot of Scotts Flat here.
Right, and there's your new logo.
Yeah, we got a new look here that we're starting to put out on our vehicles. And I think it's representative of kind of the district's going through a lot of changes, just as the community is going through a lot of changes. And we've got some new initiatives going on. We've got some new activities that we're looking into, and I think the logo is part of kind of a new phase of NID.
Right. Well, I'd like to spend the time remaining on some of the projects that NID has undertaken, and I'll start with one that's really close to home, and that's the Cement Hill Water Project. It may be called something else, but since we live on Cement Hill, and we have not been on treated water, it's going to be wonderful having that project installed. Could you describe it to people who don't know?
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. This sprung out of collaboration with you and your neighbors, of some of the folks from NID, some of the leaders, some of our directors, myself, some of our team leaders, sitting with your neighbors and trying to figure out how we could put a water system into an existing neighborhood. This is not a new neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that's been there for a number of years, relied primarily on wells. The wells were problematic as we understand it. And the costs under some of our earlier business models were just too high for the neighbors to be able to really make sense out of it. So working collaboratively, we were able to find a way of getting the costs cut down, to find methods of financing the improvements, and forming a district, an organized district that would tax itself, pay for these improvements over a long period of time with investments made by the district itself. So it's resulted in the first innovation of kind of this new approach to our business of underwriting, financing these improvements into an existing neighborhood. Now this is pretty ambitious. This is going to be more than a $10 million project, hopefully serving around 250 residents. So we didn't start with a little one. We started with a big one, but we had great cooperation with the neighbors and you, and so we're really, from NID standpoint, we're really excited about this project. We can't wait to get going.
And this is also a partnership with federal monies?
We have,
state monies?
We were able to qualify for a low interest loan from the state. So we're going to take some of that money, some of NID's money, some other sources, and put this together so that it's affordable for everybody.
Right, so it's a low interest loan over 25 years.
That's correct.
And it's very affordable compared to other options. So I think the neighborhood is very happy. I think there was something like it was a vote. It was something like 80%.
It was, it's kind of an unqualified support. It was over 80% support of this. So actually, Lou, we're going to get started in the spring.
Well, I look forward to getting some water here, so that's great. And some of the other projects you have going?
Well, we got a lot of other activities going on. Some of the biggest, I'll start with some of the biggest. We've been working for over 10 years. It predates my arrival at the district on what we call the Lower Cascade Project. It's a pipeline that's going to supplement an existing open canal that we have coming down Banner Mountain, roughly the Banner Mountain area, down in to serve Nevada City, Grass Valley, and our agricultural needs here in Nevada County. So it's a big project. It's ambitious. It's going to be around $50 million. It's a 48-inch pipe. It's about 22,000 feet. It's going to come into two of our treatment plants, Loma Rico treatment plant, then go off and serve the Elizabeth George treatment plant. And then it'll also serve raw water into our Chicago Park Canal. So big project, taking a long time to get it planned, but we're in the process of designing that right now. Should get underway in another 12 to 18 months. We're also working on, showed some slides earlier of the DS flumes. Ultimately, or when we first got started on those replacements, I think there were something like 35 flumes that were in need of repair. We're down to about 8 now. So we're hoping to finish those up over the next 12 to 18 months as well. That's several $1 million in that project. But just like we're working in your neighborhood with a new water line, we're doing the same thing down South County. We got some neighborhoods down there that are in need of water, so we're trying to implement what we did up on Cement Hill, down in those areas, so we can serve some existing neighborhoods.
So a lot of your projects seem to be in maintenance and also providing better service. Are any of them looking at growth and how to provide for anticipated growth, or do you anticipate growth?
I think every one of those have some consideration for growth and the expanding needs in our community. So every one of those are as a result of either demand or anticipated demand. One of the areas where we see the demand actually shifting, where we've had a demand, is down in the greater Lincoln area. And that's been a topic that's been kind of subject to some newsworthy discussions here in the last couple of years. But I think it's first really worth noting that the area that we're serving down there has always been in the district. Since 1926, that area has been in the district. And we're not proposing to expand the district at all. So what has happened over the last few years is lands that were formerly cattle ranches or hay farms or raising other crops are giving way to homes. And so our uses are changing from irrigation uses to domestic uses. It's going to net out to be about the same amount of water, but it's going to be different. So we're planning that we may need a treatment plant down in that neighborhood as well over time. That's a couple of years out.
Yeah, there are people who are very possessive of our neighborhoods, you know, and they tend to think that we're taking our water and giving it to somebody else in Placer County, you know, somehow that, you know, we don't have enough here and why are we giving it away to somebody else? Sure. So it's really nice to have your explanation that, number one, it's someone that they've always been within the district, right, and we're not giving anything away. Whatever costs are incurred will be paid back. It'll
be paid back. In fact, any of the capital costs will be paid by those folks there. It won't be paid by ratepayers or any other part. So there is a good story to tell. It's not whether we're for or against growth. It's just that our patrons are changing their needs down there, and we're trying to accommodate that. It's happened to some degree around Grass Valley, Nevada City, too, over time. Right. So it's part of the changing culture.
Well, I want to thank you a lot, Ron, for giving us this update. There's always more to learn, and you can go to the NID website, and they're happy to talk with you if you give them a call. I want to thank Ron and NID for continuing to sponsor this program. I want to thank Kat and Casey, ROP volunteers helping with the crew today. Also, Gail Woodman, Marilyn Blom, Michael Lamarca, and Bill Carquest. That's our crew for today, and I hope that you will continue to watch NCTV and think about coming in and producing a show, helping out. We're your local television station. Thanks a lot.